Hi, folks. I'm Bob Schrupp, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical
Together we're the
therapist.
most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion, of course, Bob.
Today, Brad, we're going to talk about how to improve sciatica with proper sitting, and we're going to show you some devices on how to put yourself in a proper seated posture.
Exactly, because if you got sciatica, pain down the leg, it's oftentimes from a disc or a low back problem, which very commonly is worsened or made worse from long-term sitting or sitting with poor posture.
Yeah, in fact, back pain used to be a lifting problem. We used to think of it, but
Right.
more often now it's a sitting problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
And we're going to go through a number of ways that sitting that constantly irritate the back. For example, you ever go to a basketball game, sit on the bleachers without a backrest? You got back pain or leg pain? Usually you're going
Yeah.
out much worse than when you came into the game.
Yeah, people are well aware of that. I think
Right.
that's a good example.
Right.
So.
Sitting at work, in a computer workstation, you don't have a very good chair. You like to sit at the edge of the chair because you're comfortable that way, but your back needs some support. We're going to show you a couple of nice options for that.
Before we do that, Brad, I noticed a couple people have wandered in, so
Yep.
welcome into our fold. Today, we're going to provide videos on how to stay healthy, fit, and pain-free, so we want you to subscribe to us. We have subscription buttons here or here. And also go over to Facebook and like us because we like to be liked.
Yeah.
We're Bob and Brad, by the way, on Facebook.
Yeah, we are likable, aren't we?
I would hope so.
Oh, okay, say no more,
Let's
Bob.
talk about, Brad, why is sitting a problem with?
Because, Bob, here we got our spine. We talked about sciatica, oftentimes coming from the low spine. And the reason that is because we find ourselves slouched and sitting like this or like
Rounded
this,
out.
or we're leaning forward. And the back, when the back does that, it actually rounds this direction, which puts pressure on the disc. And the disc can actually start to bulge and push into that nerve that makes the whole leg hurt. Because the nerve from the low back goes right down through the buttock into the sciatic nerve, all the way down into the foot. So you can get pain throughout the whole leg into the foot. And we've got a nice model here of, here we got two vertebrae and a model of a disc. And the disc actually has fluid inside of it. It's like a balloon with a water balloon inside of it. And when you sit poor and slouched, Bob's going to show a good example of that disc.
On a normal healthy disc, that's not a problem.
Right.
But over time, it starts to wear out on the back
Right.
as you keep sitting and sitting and sitting and slouching and slouching. So here again, here's a good healthy disc. But eventually, if the back wears out,
Whoa!
Yep.
Look at that.
and that's going to push back up against the sciatic nerve and send pain down your leg, and you're
Right.
not going to be a happy camper.
But if you can sit with good posture and actually have a support, we call it a lumbar support in the spine, that can really help remedy this problem.
Right.
And here we got the spine. We've got, this is one that's a Napola lumbar support. This is one I particularly like. And we're going to put it in this chair. This happens to be a chair you can use in a bleacher. Yeah, if you're at a stadium or a basketball game, and you'll sit on there, and you can see the arch here.
Create your arch in the back.
Right, supports that, not letting that bulge get worse, just like Bob demonstrated. There's other, you could even start with a towel roll if you don't happen to have something bought, and you'll put that back there, and that's going to help.
What's
create
nice about
that.
starting with a towel roll, Brad, is you can figure out what size you want to start with. Because a lot of
Exactly.
times people who are having sciatica like to have more of a towel roll. That's a little crazy, Brad.
But that's the idea. You would probably never go this big unless you're a very
Yeah.
large person.
But yeah, it's going to vary greatly between people of how much they want
Right.
in there. And that's why it's a really kind of a, you have to kind of test things out to see what's
Exactly.
going to work.
Exactly. This is one that I have used actually.
This is the one I use too.
Right, so it's a real thin one. And this particular chair probably, I don't know if anybody uses it because
Yeah.
it's so soft.
It's so soft it won't work.
Right,
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also mention, Brad, that really when you are having sciatica or problems with sciatica, as much as possible you should avoid sitting.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
and I know that's not always possible. You might be in a job or you have to drive your car and you can't stand up while you drive your car, can you?
I don't think so, Bob.
So you really, but when I had a bout of sciatica when I was a student, I did all my notes standing up.
Sure.
I walked around. It's just a lot better for the disc. and it's healthier. So
Right, right. You know, people that have it chronically, you find yourself, you have to sit or you're in that situation.
Right.
For example, work, you know, if you don't have a stand-up workstation and you have
Right.
to sit at a computer workstation like this, that's when, you know, we found something like this, a little bit bigger, to go back in here to allow you to relax.
Yeah, because one of the problems when you're working at a desk quite often is you're forward.
Right,
Right. I mean, you're
exactly.
maybe at the keyboard or you're writing, and so if you know you lean back, almost any one of these will work. But this is a thicker one,
Right.
so it'll give you some support even though you are leaning forward.
Exactly. If we go, why don't you have a seat down there? Let's
Sure.
say like a bleacher.
Now you can see on a bleacher, one of the main problems right away, especially for a tall person like me, my knees come up higher than my hips, and that rounds out my back.
Exactly.
And so eventually what happens over time is I even, you know, because of gravity, I start slouching even more.
Yeah.
And also, of course, the hard surface doesn't help either because you're
Right.
putting pressure right on that sciatic
Yeah.
nerve as it comes through the notch.
And if it's a really boring game, you know, you just kind of, it's not like you're standing up to cheer them on every now
So
and
one of
then,
the alternatives is to you know sit up on the top row.
Right.
I mean, my wife and I used to do that so you can lean against the wall.
Right.
And also, it's a lot easier for you to stand every so often
Sure,
because you're not blocking people's view.
Right.
So I'm blocking people's views anyway because I'm 6'6".
Yep.
So.
Yeah, this is actually a chair made for a bleacher. You know, it folds up, you can carry it up in there, put it down, and there's straps that go underneath, and hopefully they fit around the mechanics or the size of the bleacher. But, you know, this would be nice. Here's another bleacher chair, but this one is much cheaper, has no framework on it, and it would work. I'll just demonstrate this one. You get a little support on it, but nothing in the lumbar.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things you get what you pay for. I would probably just not buy that if you have any lumbar problems or sciatica. Just put that one off to the side and pretend you never bought it. Okay, but the other thing, that there's another product out that works really well. It's called a NADA chair.
NADA,
Right.
meaning we're not a chair,
Yeah,
but it's a play on words.
But this really does do a really nice, much better than anything we talked about here, in my opinion, as far as supporting the lumbar spine in a really good way. And this is how it comes. You know, they have a number, about 4 or 5 different varieties. This is kind of the standard one. It shows you the basic mechanics, but you simply fold it out like this. If this is the bleacher,
This has been around a long time, by the way. Brad and I were just discussing this. We remember, because it came about actually right when I graduated from
Oh, really?
therapy school in 1985. So I remember it coming out, and I remember Saunders was selling it at the time. And so it does do the job. It's a little cumbersome, wouldn't you say, Brad?
well, you can say, you know, you got to get it on. Once you get it on,
Oh yeah, once you got it,
Yep.
because you look at you just did it right now.
once you do it 3 or 4 times, you'll be good at it. And you can see, and it's adjustable. The straps right here easily adjust. And right now I can lean back and it feels really, really comfortable. Now this is the type of thing, you know, in a bleacher you could sit there. The only thing about this is if you're gonna, you know, the big play comes and you're gonna stand up, you can certainly stand up, but then it, you know, you got to hold on to it. It'll
You gotta
drop
go
down.
back to
Yeah.
it again.
They do have one that they show someone canoeing and it's built right into the vest.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's really nice. So it's not going to fall out. That would.
This gives support over what we call the sacrum and the low back, which I
Yeah.
think is really good with seating. A lot of the studies have shown that that's more effective if you're supporting both the
Right.
sacrum and
Yeah.
the.
And I
and
can
the
tell
low
you,
back.
it feels really stable.
How does it feel like if you lean forward a little bit, Brad? Like you're like that. Does it still feel like you're getting stress?
Not as much, but
Okay.
then you may adjust here.
Sure.
But it just feels so good to lean back. You just want to because it really supports. Now, if you're working at an office chair, I think this would be a good option for someone who, you know, who's working.
If they don't get up and down a lot.
Right. Well, that's true. They do make one now that's elastic, and you don't have these straps, and it's a little more user-friendly that way. So you can see if you're working there. And the thing is you're probably not going to sit with this 8 hours a day. You might use it half, 50% of the time where you want to get that rest on it. And, you know, that's kind of the way I use my lumbar support anyways. I don't have it in my car all the time, most of the time, but not 100% of the time.
And we should have brought the sit-to-stand table over here too. I mean, desk, the Flex Spot. You know,
right.
It's a desk you can stand up quite often, and even that's a lot better for your back pain. It's that prolonged sitting that's a real problem. You know, these are some other options here too. If there's a football team you're really not happy with and you really don't like them.
Well, Bob's got an issue. This is part of his
you
problem.
Go ahead, you can put this in there, you can squish it, and you feel really good because it gives you support, and also you're squishing it and you're getting, you know, rid of it. Now this is, you know, would also work, but you want to treat this with respect, so you don't want to put this behind your back.
Yeah,
so
there's nothing good about that team
except
for they got a new stadium.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching.